Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you spend your days navigating complex repositories or just waiting for scripts to run, you're going to want to pay close attention. Today, we're unpacking a massive, game-changing upgrade for your coding productivity, Ultracode. It dropped in Claude Code version 2.154, and honestly, it fundamentally changes the relationship between you, your codebase, and your AI assistant. This isn't just some minor tweak, it's a complete architectural shift in how work actually gets done. So let's start with a super frustrating pain point. What happens when an AI task is simply too big for a single conversation? We've all been there, right? Think about the absolute agony of watching an AI plod through a massive code base, just one single file at a time. Your terminal session gets hijacked, your creative flow is totally broken, and you're just bottlenecked by linear speed. It's incredibly inefficient. Well, that exact problem ends today. Take a look at the stark contrast here between traditional linear processing and the brand new parallel execution of Ultracode. Normally, Claude thinks and acts one step at a time. It's kind of neatly trapped in a single thread. But Ultracode, it completely shatters that limitation. When you activate it, it elevates its own reasoning and seamlessly fans out all that heavy lifting across multiple background helper agents. It literally transforms from a solo worker into a highly synchronized development team. Okay, so how does this actually happen under the hood? Well, first off, Ultracode cranks Claude's reasoning capabilities to the absolute max. It uses a setting known as xhigh. But, raw brainpower just isn't enough for massive jobs. The real magic here is autonomy. Claude autonomously decides, right in the moment, when a task is just too large for a linear approach. It essentially becomes a project manager, recognizing when a job requires a whole team instead of just one AI. Instead of just guessing how to distribute tasks, Claude literally writes a custom orchestration script tailored specifically to your prompt. And that is what we call a dynamic workflow. A runtime executes this entirely behind the scenes, spinning up and managing those helper agents automatically. And honestly, the absolute best part for your productivity, your main terminal session stays completely free. You can just seamlessly keep coding without missing a single beat. Now, triggering this power is incredibly flexible. Gear up for an intense coding session by just typing /effort ultracode. Or if you've got a one-off massive job, just drop the word ultracode right into your prompt. Actually, you don't even need strict syntax for this. Plain language like, use a workflow or run a workflow activates the exact same multi-agent magic. It's really that easy. Let's look at a concrete example to really see this in practice. Imagine you're tasked with securing an application, so you ask Claude to audit every single API endpoint under your source/routes for missing authentication checks. Under the old paradigm, you'd basically grab a coffee and wait as it read through 50 files sequentially. But with Ultracode, the system recognizes the massive scope of the request and immediately spins up an entire fleet of subagents to tackle the directory simultaneously. So here is that fleet in action. First, they strategically slice up the routes to avoid any overlap. Next, sub-agents inspect their assigned files in parallel. And then comes the truly revolutionary part. They adversarially review each other. They actively cross-check findings to catch hallucinations before anything is finalized. So ultimately, instead of a giant unreadable transcript, you get one perfectly clean, highly actionable report delivered right to your terminal. Now, I know hearing about autonomous AI fleets spawning subagents might sound a little daunting, especially when you are the one paying the API bill. You might be sweating just thinking about a runaway process draining your account. But don't worry. To make sure this engine stays safely on the tracks, there are very sensible, non-negotiable limits built directly into the core architecture of these dynamic workflows. The primary constraint is the number 16. Meaning a maximum of 16 agents will run concurrently at any given time. This ensures a highly parallel but strictly controlled fan-out. Plus, the system actually respects your local hardware. If you're running this on a machine with limited CPU cores, it intelligently scales down so your laptop doesn't literally melt while the fleet is working away in the background. Beyond concurrency, there's an absolute ceiling on total scale. A single dynamic workflow run is strictly capped at 1,000 total agents. Hit that mark, the fan-out terminates. This is your ultimate safety net. It ensures that a deeply nested directory doesn't result in an endless token-burning loop. It absolutely protects both your system stability and, well, your wallet. Because spinning up these adversarial fleets does consume more tokens, it's absolutely crucial to know exactly when to use it. Ultracode is meant for genuinely massive jobs. We're talking codebase-wide security audits, complex framework migrations, or deep multi-source research. For a quick bug fix or a single file edit, deploying this fleet is absolute overkill. Regular Claude Code remains your go-to for that everyday speed and efficiency. Now, if you need to revert to the default behavior, it's as easy as just starting a new session or manually typing /effort high. Want to prevent accidental triggers globally? No problem. Just open your /config menu and toggle dynamic workflows off, or set your Claude Code disable workflows environment variable to 1.
Before we wrap up, it's definitely worth knowing Ultracode's highly specialized cousins by name. First, there's UltraPlan, which handles complex architectural planning in the cloud. Then there's UltraReview, designed for deep, automated code review. And finally, UltraThink, which is an impromptu word you drop in when you need Claude to pause and think significantly harder on just a single turn without launching a full workflow.
We've covered an incredible evolution today, moving from single-threaded bottlenecks to parallel, self-checking fleets working right on your behalf. So, I'll leave you with this. Are you ready to unleash a parallel fleet on your next massive codebase migration? Think of the monumental amount of time and tedium you could save. For the latest walkthroughs and step-by-step guidance, definitely head over to cloudmaster.net. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and happy building.